Hi, and welcome to Unique and Creative Transition Curriculum with Christine Batista. Let's get started. I want to thank you for being a part of the Inclusioneers Empower community. This is my third year being a part of this conference, and I love connecting with other educators and walking away from a conference feeling motivated to use some of the new tools we learned together. A little bit about myself. This is my 13th year working in special education. I have been department chair. I worked in an SDC setting, and I started off in special education as an instructional assistant. I am based in Monterey County, and I have two daughters, Sienna and Sedona. And my husband, Zeke, is also a resource specialist in San Jose. If you'd like to connect beyond this conference, feel free to add me on Facebook or Instagram. I love connecting with educators and continuing that conversation about transition and career readiness. My email is also listed here if you have any questions following this session. Also be doing a fun raffle. Every year, my husband and I, we put out this disability awareness calendar. There are 13 learning disabilities, and then there are 12 months in the year. So every month highlights a different disability. And there's the definition, there's considerations, there are inclusion tips, and then there are disability awareness dates that are embedded throughout. So if you're interested in that, there's a link on that slide, and you just need to put your name and your email, and we'll be drawing a couple people to receive those calendars. A little bit about why I got involved in transition. In my first year of teaching, I was asked to teach life skills about applications and job interviewing and resumes. And I loved going back to those first experiences of going through that process myself and not really knowing what the process was and stumbling through it. So that became very exciting, teaching students through that, having a little bit of hindsight about that. Also, my experience working in the food industry. However, my passion with transition got even more deeper than that. And it became really about customer service. And it really became apparent to me that when we're teaching students about job readiness and career awareness, it's also teaching students about how to treat people. And I really do feel like customer service is how we take care of each other. And so not only do our lessons span about those technical logistics about obtaining a job, but also how do we sustain that job and how do we treat our customers and how do we maintain our customers and continue those relationships. Our goals for today, there are two parts to this session. The first is going to be a tutorial, a modeling session that will be live here. And then for the second session, I'll be sharing a folder with you with some creative transition pieces, curriculum pieces, and we'll be going through some practical implementation ideas for each of those pieces. Okay, so I think that one of the fun parts of working with transition is that you can recreate realities. So you can recreate things that we see in real life and put them in the classroom so that students have practice with those tools. So today we're going to be doing a practice session with creating something that looks like this. So besides career readiness, we also do financial literacy. So I'm going to be showing how to create something that looks like this, and then you can create your own questions to take students through this and have them go through something that actually looks like a DMV registration notification. I'm going to share my screen here so we can go through it. So we're trying to make something that looks like this. So I'm opening up my drive and I'm going to start a new Google Slides document. So the Google Slides document is going to give me this formatting, which is suitable for presenting. But I'm going to change the page setup so that it is the same dimensions as a sheet of paper. And the reason for this is I want to make sure that this resource that I am creating is something that I can use on Google Classroom, or it's something also that I can print out if you find that you would like to use that format instead. So I'm going to go to page setup. And I'm going to change the dimensions to a standard sheet of paper. So I'm going to do 8.5 by 11. And you could see now this is in the dimensions of a standard sheet of paper. And if I print this out, this is going to print out on a standard sheet of paper. If I wanted to do hamburger style, I just do 11 by 8.5 and it would do that way, but I want this. So here I am. And I just don't like all those lines. So I'm going to go to slide, apply layout, and make that blank. Okay, so I want something that looks like this because I want to recreate some of the things that I see in everyday life, adult life, for my students so that they can have some practice with these items before they see them for the first time. So I'm going to do a little sleuthing here. And I'm going to find something that looks like what is on that notice. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste that here and put that here. So. I believe this is the state of California seal. I'm going to find that. Control C to copy and Control V to paste. Is vehicle registration notice. So I'm going to put that here. Bold. It looks a little bigger. Okay, and then it has this area for the VIN, make, year, body tape type, and the license plate. So shape. Curvy shape. So that, make it inside white, the line black. Will be to paste to do the one that is right next to it. Insert a square shape. Text box. In make a type license plate. I'm going to make that really small. Okay, and then I need amount due and the due date. So that. And then it has an area that has this stop sign. So I'm going to do this logo. I'm going to look for that. And I just copied and paste this bold text. And it has this other shape that's kind of like this one. So I'm just going to Control C to copy and Control V to paste. Text inside this box looks a little like that one. So it says, please take this notice to a smog check
find something that looks like that. Yeah. I'm going to make it really small, and actually I'm going to crop this. Get rid of all of that extra space. A bit smaller. Bring it to the front.
Might just keep this as is. I don't know how to mirror it. I know there's a way to do it. We'll just keep that as is. Then I'm going to insert this line. The font or the weight for 4 points. And then we'll go through and then we're going to do this side here. So it says to renew, just provide. So I'll control C to copy, control V to paste here. Make this a little smaller. And there's a bunch of these little hands. So I'm going to do control C to copy, control V to paste. And here. And it looks like there's a shape that has renewal fees. Gray, so that's perfect. So we'll put one here, control C to copy, control V to paste. There, and they have like a longer one here. Paste. There. And then they also have these logos. They have a computer, a telephone, and a mailbox symbol. The other one, telephone. Phone. Cropping it. And then we have a mailbox. Don't want any of these things that have the watermark on it. So perhaps there's one. Oh, that looks like a mailbox. Okay, so now we need the text that goes in here. I'm going to just, I already have text here. So I'm going to do control C to copy, control V to paste. And just make it a little smaller. All right. Control C to copy, control V to paste. Do another one here, smog. Oh. Do control A to select all and make that a little bit bigger. Control C to copy, control V to paste, and do that again here. Okay, so we got this side down and we just have this side on the right to do. So I'm going to insert a shape again. It's that little curved box here. I want the inside white and the line 2. And I'm going to do fees. So let's see, put a box there. Fees already comes out as gray, so that's great. I need text here. It's probably going to be around this side. So I'm just going to highlight this, Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and right keys and center that. A little big. And then I'm just going to go through owner responsibility. Smaller. And this guy was super small. Put this in there because it's just. Okay. That way we can maybe even make it. No, we're not. Oh. There's that. And then here it says total due on or before. So I'm going to do a little text box there. Text box is great because you can change the lines, the line weight. So if I go, I have the text box, I'm going to put the line weight as 2. And then I'll say total due on or before 7. It's $200. And also has this text here, or $20 to file planned. Okay. So the only thing left to do after you create something like this, I'm going to name this, is if you want to do a set of questions, you can insert a slide and you could do a set of questions for students. Do California DMV bill questions. And you can do your own set of questions regarding this. You could also put the questions down here if you wish. You can insert your own information here. Maybe it's a car that they're really interested in, and you put in some pretend information here. But that in a nutshell is how you can create realia. So if there's something in real life that you'd like to create so that students have practice with that, Google Slides is a great tool to create something that looks like the document, or something that looks like the bill or the notice or the rental agreement. I'm going to move on to the second part of our session now, which is sharing some creative curriculum pieces with you all. This Google Slides presentation, there is a link here. This is going to take you to a folder of resources. And what you'll want to do, number one, you'll want to make sure that you're on your personal email account. For some reason, it's just easier to transfer over a file. So this is going to take you to a folder, and from there you can file and make a copy of all of those files. So I'm going to open that folder. It should have these schoolhouse symbols, and then it says inclusion years, October 20th to the 21st. Okay. So these are some creative curriculum pieces that you can use in your own classroom. So I'm going to go through and show you the pieces and share some tips that have worked in my classroom that can hopefully enrich your classroom in whatever way you see best fit. So the first thing is, if you are interested in teaching transition for a full year, This is a scope and sequence map. So if you'd like to follow along this map, I've found that this order works really well for teaching transition in the classroom. Even if you just want to make the month that theme and then just do a couple activities in relation to that theme, I found that this is helpful for me for forward planning. So in August, we talk about my self narrative. So that is having students be familiar with what are their strengths, what are their areas of growth, can they describe their disability? So the August is all about that self narrative. A lot of times we take a look at their IEPs. In September, it's looking into life after high school. We jump right into it. So what are some pathways for life after high school? And we talk about college, we talk about university college, we talk about 2-year colleges. We also talk about different career paths, such as going to trade school, going straight into a job, taking a gap year, going into the military. So we talk about the different pathways after high school. We talk about the FAFSA usually around this time as well. We also talk about jobs and careers and the difference between a job and a career. And we also talk about networking. In October, the theme is our first step. So once we know about the different pathways, once we know the difference between a job and a career, then what is a conceivable action plan that we can create so that we have some smaller steps to get where we want to go? So we talk about a 4-year plan, and we also talk about things that can support them in high school. So choosing electives, choosing clubs, volunteering, job shadowing, and how that can look on a person's resume. And then that leads into our unit on writing a resume. So we have students go through and collect the information that's needed on a resume, and then they use a template to create their own resume. And typically, once we print that out, students understand the idea and the notion of resume logic and why they should be pursuing these opportunities in high school. Also in this month is how to look for a job. So there is a better time to look for a job and a worse time to look for a job. And we also go over jargon that may be on a job advertisement online. And then we end October with job applications. So going over bad job applications. What do bad job applications look like? And sometimes instructors and we will fill out a job application really sloppily so that students see that this is it's really easy for them to discern that this is a bad job application. And then we do some other practice job applications. I print some off of the internet, PDFs of job applications for students to work on in class, pen and paper. In November, we go into interviews. So cover letters and letters of rec is first, and then we go into job interviewing, which typically is a 3-week unit. And again, starting it off with what is a bad job interview. And sometimes an instructional assistant and I will act out a really bad job interview, and then we'll act out a really good job interview. And then we'll go through, and every couple of days, we'll talk about a new job interview question and go over bad ways to answer the question and then good ways to answer the question. And we provide students with some sentence stems for how to answer the question comprehensively. In December, it is all about self-advocacy. So knowing their rights under IDEA, knowing their rights under ADA, and then also knowing individuals in society that have had learning disabilities and how they have overcome them, and knowing about disclosure and also their rights on the workplace and how to ask for reasonable accommodations on the workplace. So that is leading up to second semester, which is, okay, so now we've done all this work for how do you obtain a job? And second semester is all about, now that I have the job, now what? And so we start off January really strongly with customer service. And what I found for customer service, what really is helpful is doing a lot of role play and always talking about what is the wrong way of doing things. So in dealing with an angry customer, what is the wrong way to deal with an angry customer? And we'll act that out. And then we'll act out how you deal with it the right way. We'll do a little lecture about how you deal with the angry customer the right way. And then we'll turn it over to students to practice with the peer, show us a wrong way, and then show us the right way. We also go over some reasons to leave a job. And then also at the end of the unit is how to write a 2-week notice. In February, we go into financial literacy. So once we have this job and we have this paycheck, what do we do with our first paycheck? How do we read our paycheck? How do we write a personal check? What is a budget? What is a credit report? That is for February. March is living on our own. So once we have this job, once we have this paycheck, how can we live on our own? We look at rental agreements, grocery lists. May or June, it's family planning, having a family and what that entails, first aid. In the past, we have these infant simulators, and we also actually have students simulate what it is like having a baby for a day. And then we end it with a final project, which is typically our 10-year plan. So having students create a 10-year plan and what they plan to do each year to get them closer to their goal. So this is in the folder here for you. If you'd like to use this, plan out for your year and use your own activities or supplement it with whatever you like. But I found that this order really helps me if I want to teach a dedicated class that's devoted to transition, or if I want to teach English, but perhaps every week we do an activity that is related to this thing. Into this folder to show some other things that are in here for you. This first thing is more for IEPs. So this is a hopes and dreams. So that part of the IEP, when we're asked to do an interview, an informal interview, here's a hopes and dreams sheet. This is a printable one. So this is one you can print out and you can get some more informal data about what students want to do, what they see for their own futures. And so this is one that you can print out. Again, this is on 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Also in here is one that students can fill out digitally. So this is formatted exactly the same way as the PDF one. But when students want to input this data, they click on this and they double click this, and then they can put in what their dreams. I want to be a pilot. And then it will save that. This is a hopes and dreams that you can use on Google Classroom. You can send out to students as well. So this is one that is completely digital. You can also print it out though. This is Think Like a Boss. And this is similar to what we were talking about in the transition scope and sequence. This is showing students, if you don't have time to like make a bad job application, here's a bad job application. So this is one that we've done. We filled it out just really badly. So as you can see, like it has an unprofessional email address, has some scribbles on it. Their salary desired is $1 million a year. For the pre-interview questions, there are just some silly answers for that. It's also editable. So feel free to like go in there and fine tune it to your own classroom. But here's just like a silly bad job application, and you can print it out or you can post this on Google Classroom. And then there are some questions that align with that as well. And the answer key is here. There's a blank job application here because after students see a really bad application, then they can go in and fill out an application in a good way. So it is, I think, like a boss. Then we talked about writing resumes. Here is a resume pre-write. So this is the initial step for students to gather resume information. And the best part that I love about this worksheet is for personal skills, it has some examples for things that they can choose, because in the past I've had students that they just can't think off the top of their head. What are some personal skills that they have? It's hard for even for you and me sometimes. So there are some suggestions here, and then they fill out the blue boxes. And once they have this information, they can go in and there are some templates here that you can use. So there's a no experience template. And just like we did in our tutorial earlier today, they can just edit this however they want. So this is for no experience. There's one for some experience. And then they just get a little bit more sophisticated if they want to tackle any of those. So this for sure can be used with some of our resource students or some of our college-bound students if they are looking to create their own resume. Great. Who would you interview? This is a fun activity, asking students to think like managers. So looking at 3 different resumes and then deciding who you would hire. So here is a job ad, a pretend job ad for a prospective position at Sienna's Cafe and Treats. And then they have resumes from 3 different applicants. And then as a group, they decide who would you call in to interview? Why do you choose him or her over the other candidates? And then what are 2 things that the other applicants can do to strengthen their resume? So it just helps them think about that resume logic. These resumes are also editable. So if you want to go in there and change these and make them more localized to an experience that your students might have or a business that they like, you are welcome to do that. Bad and good job interview. This is once you enter the job interview unit. If you would like to act out a bad job interview and a good job interview, maybe you can do it great on the fly. But if you want some ideas, here are some ideas for conducting a bad interview, what you can do before the bad interview, what you can do during the interview, look at your cell phone, chew on gum, wear sunglasses. Then after that, there are some answers for a good interview and how you can answer a good interview and act that out for your students. Okay, and then lastly, here is, if you want to go into job interviewing, here is a rubric for 9 job interview questions. So in our class, we like to say, you can pick something you want to interview, something, a job that you would like to interview for. For many of our students, they want to practice interviewing for In-N-Out. So maybe I would write In-N-Out here. And then there are some things in the beginning of the interview, they would fill this out and then they would practice an interview with you. This is just thing to remind them. Did you smile? Did you handshake? Did you repeat back the name of the interviewer? And for materials, did you bring a resume? Did you bring a notebook and pen? And then it goes through each of the questions, and there are requirements here that are outlined for what they need to include in their response. So it gives students some practice with filling out a job interview template and some essential things that employers are looking for. And it also gives you a chance to assess that using this rubric afterwards in a one-on-one interview. And then lastly, there is a rubric here that you can score and use your own notes for. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for attending this session. Thank you for being committed to teaching transition and career readiness in your classroom. Please do keep in touch. And if you could, fill out this session feedback form to help me improve this session for future attendees. It would be most appreciated. I hope you guys all have a great rest of the school year, and we'll see you next time.